October 28th. And I will ask Mary if she will do roll call.
Yes. Uh-oh.
Oh, Mary, we got an echo with you.
Okay.
Okay, while we do this, why don't I go ahead and do the roll? Mary, you can just note it if you'll mute yourself.
Okay.
Okay. So Chair Debbie Booth-Schmidt.
Here.
Vice Chair Tracy McDonald.
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Deanna Nino.
Here. Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Withers.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Romero.
Here. Good morning.
Commissioner Alegria.
Here.
All right.
All right.
Everybody's present and accounted for.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any changes to the agenda?
None from staff.
We have kind of done a little bit of a rearrangement so that we can have the audit presentation so that Paul doesn't have to hang out for the whole meeting. And I hope that's all right with everyone. I mean, he might want to hang out for the whole meeting, but this way I'm sure he's busy with other things right now. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right.
Exciting,
Very much.
exciting
So, thank
stuff
you.
here, sir.
All
Exciting
right.
stuff.
We'll go ahead and turn it over to Paul.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Especially thank you for putting me on the front of the agenda. I am actually, I don't know, many of you know, but I'm out of Eugene. That's where my office is located. But today I'm actually in Newport. As soon as I'm done with this meeting, I'm off to another client. So
All right.
I think I did that last year. Sat in your hotel room. I'm a hotel room. We did this meeting. So I'm there next week. I don't know if Kelly's told you, but I'm coming up to see the transit district next week. So
All right.
she's probably not looking forward to that, but that's all right.
No, she's looking forward to it. Paul, are you able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes, I can see the PowerPoint. Can
Okay,
everybody
very
have
good.
a PowerPoint? If so, can you just go on to the next slide?
I hope so. There we go.
And you probably need to hit it till you see Ride Care Fund. And several of you have probably heard this conversation last year. As I tell everybody, when this thing called Enron happened, that changed the audit world. One of the things that changed was we are required to communicate certain things to the governing board. And one of the things we have, and this is basically a list of that plus one other thing. One of the things we have to communicate is our responsibility as auditors. If you've looked at the audit report, there's a place in there where we have our letterhead, and in the front of the report, we have our opinion. It is our responsibility to make sure your audited statements don't have any material misstatements in it. And that means if somebody were to read the statements and make a decision based on those financial statements, there's no errors in there large enough to change that decision. It doesn't mean there's no errors at all in there. There's single audit findings again this year. I believe with this next year I'm coming up to start, we are going to get rid of those. That's what we're all looking forward to, is getting rid of those single audit findings. Now that you don't have QuickBooks anymore, I think that was one of the biggest things that was contributing to that. You don't have any real significant estimates that were disclosed. Some difficulties again this year during the audit. One was when Tracy left, things slowed down. Two was my side. Unfortunately, we had a wave of pandemic or COVID sweep through my office. 5 people got ill, which kind of slowed us down quite a bit. So I'm hoping this year we have a better year. That's hopefully. I sure hope so. We have a few corrected misstatements, nothing significant, no uncorrected misstatements. The only disagreement I think I have with Jeff was my BYU Cougars beat his Washington State Cougars this last weekend. So no disagreements with management related to the audit. Management has a representation letter that they sign. Takes about 6-7 pages now. Basically, it says you didn't keep 2 sets of records. Hide one in the closet and show me the other one. And this year you closed, the year we're auditing the Ride Care Fund. If you look at the statements, that is totally a closed out fund. Doesn't mean much except to the accountants, but that fund is gone this year. Next slide, please. Oregon minimum standards. You've probably heard me say this before too. There's only 2 states in the union that states have minimum audit standards for governments, and it's us and New Jersey. Every other state, all you got to be is a CPA, and there's no special requirements to audit governments, but Oregon is one of them. And as part of that, I'm a licensed municipal auditor. Anybody who oversees an audit for a government has to be a licensed municipal auditor. Well, we test your deposits of public funds. What does that mean? It means, excuse me, you can put your money in any financial institution you want to, up to $250,000. Once it's over $250,000, it has to be on a financial institution that's on a list that the treasurer of the state of Oregon keeps of qualified institutions. There's a debt limit calculation. We do that. You're well below your debt limit. Budget testing, I noted note 2B. When we test your budget, if you're over budget in a couple of categories, we note that. And if you look at the back of the report, there's a letter about Oregon minimum standards on our letterhead where we mention note 2B and that you're out of compliance with Oregon minimum standards because you exceeded budget in certain line items. Well, what happens with that? If the state, this is an if, looks at your report and they note that, they will write you a letter. And all you have to do is write a letter back and say, we're aware of this, we're putting procedures in place. Basically, we'll try to do better next time. That's literally what happens with that. So there's nothing really significant that happens with that. We have to review your insurance certificate every year. You have the single audit. So that takes care of, which is you get enough federal money that you have to be audited under different rules that the federal government passed way back in 1983, and I was even auditing when they passed those originally, that long ago. But there's specific rules related to the amount of federal money you get that we have to do testing for. You can only invest money, governments can only invest money in specific things. We test to make sure you haven't violated the state statute on investing in public funds. And we test your public contracting, making sure if you put a bid out, you follow the rules according to bidding as you stipulated in the bid and state or your own guidance or laws. Any questions so far? Jeff, you want to show the next one? This shows your general fund revenue expenditures and transfers out or in to the other funds over the last several years. 2020 looks huge. And the main reason for that, probably no surprise, is the CARES / whatever COVID relief funds came in over the time. That really bumped up your revenue and expenditures this last year. I'm sure you're pretty aware of that. And the next slide, Jeff. This shows your days cash and general fund balance. So basically what this slide tells you, as of June 30, if you ended operate, or if you couldn't get any more cash in, how many days could you operate off of? Now, 2020 again is a little bit of an anomalous year because I take the expenses for the year. So this year's expenses include all the COVID money you spent. So it's a little, I would say, anomalous in that case. But the previous from 15 to 18 are the years I really like. 19 are not in too bad a shape, but 60 days is probably a good one. What's the standard? There is no standard by industry standards, but I've been doing this for a long time, and I say I'd like to see have anywhere from 2 to 6 months for the reserve on hand. So you're right around the 2-month period, close to the bottom end of what I like to see. So just an FYI, doesn't relate to you guys. One year when I was doing this with another government, I had a 2-day dot on the chart. So you're not, that would start to get me nervous. Any questions?
See, Pamela?
Could you explain transfers, please?
Transfers are money. If the general fund sends money to the Ride Care Fund or the capital reserve fund, that's a transfer. Instead of an expense, it's one fund sending money to another fund. If you're, did I confuse you?
Well, when you see transfers, you usually say $50,000 out and $50,000 in.
Right. So if the general fund sent $50,000, because I just did this for the general fund. But if the general fund sent $50,000 to the capital reserve fund, that would be a transfer out of the general fund and a transfer in to the capital reserve fund.
Okay,
So it stays in the entity, it's just moving funds.
okay, thank you.
And this shows your general fund balance at the end of the year. So your fund balance didn't change much, but your days in cash went down again because this year you had such a large amount of expenditures in COVID related. Any other questions? If not, I do enjoy coming up there. I look forward to being back up there here pretty soon. Well, Tuesday I'll be at the transit district on Tuesday. So, and anybody who has any questions, I know Kelly has my cell phone number. I think Jeff does too. You can always get a hold of them, get a hold of my cell phone number. It's the best way to contact me. I'm an auditor, and especially this time of year, I'm always someplace. So anybody has any questions, just give me a call. Yes.
I see Deanna.
Thank you. I do have questions actually. First one on the first page that says introductory section. It says that the year ended June 30, 2020.
Right.
Oh, I'm hearing a lot of echo. And then it lists the Board of Commissioners, but then there's a few commissioners in there that were not there by the end of the, so Commissioner Tamara Taylor, Charles Withers, and myself are not included on that list. So I was just wondering how that works because we had a change in commissioners on the board. Should that be noted or not?
Were you there at June 30, 2020?
Yeah, we were sworn in.
You know what?
I know
I
that
can
Charles
fix-
and I were sworn in at the end of 2019. So we
Okay.
were definitely.
You know, I will fix that and get a new copy out. How's that sound?
Thank you. Then my second question was on page 11, your report, page 20 of the board packet meeting. When you're listing the capital assets, and we have building and equipment, building for 50 years, equipment 4 to 15. I was just wondering, are shelters, are they considered building or equipment?
I would have to get into the work papers to look that up, so I can dig that up real quick if you would like me to. Or...
Yeah, because our shelters, I don't think they can withstand 50 years.
No,
So
I
that's
don't
why
think
I was
they're
like-
listed. I would guess right off the top of my head, I would say the same thing. I can't imagine your shelters could last that long.
Yeah, and shelters are considered amenities in the world of transportation.
So I'm guessing they're in equipment, but I'm gonna have to dig that up.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And then let's see. No, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Yep.
And then Pamela, I saw your hand raised also. And you're muted, Pamela.
Page 24 on the packet, 14, page 14 on the, on your report. What does, you have, this is on the upper portion of the paper page. Is that cash on hand 676, what? $676?
Yeah, $676 petty cash.
That's petty cash?
It wouldn't be petty cash, it'd
Our
be,
entails. I'm sorry for you. It's
Yeah.
probably cash tills. I am sorry. As soon as you start saying that, Jeff, I was like, yeah, it's cash and tills probably for you guys, not petty
Okay.
cash.
And then what does it mean by demand deposits?
That's just deposits in the bank. I mean, that's a technical term. We could say checking account, savings account, that's a demand deposit.
Okay. And then okay. Just a minute. All right. Okay, go on. Go on. That's okay.
Pamela,
Just
did you
go
have?
on. Just go on.
Okay, Charles, I saw your hand.
Yeah, Ron, you said you will be visiting the transit district next week. Is this in conclusion of the audit, or is this just a friendly visit to make sure we actually have a building and people and bus?
This is to start the next audit.
Okay, all right. So this,
Yeah.
I got you.
They get to see me quite often though there, because I have a lot of clients up in the Astoria area. So I sometimes just stop by for a friendly visit.
But this is not nothing to be concerned
No,
with.
it's nothing new. No.
And Pamela?
On page 42 in the packet, it says material weaknesses identified, yes.
Right, that has to do with the single audit, and you've had those findings for 3 years now, but that's why I said that we are getting away from that with the new software. QuickBooks is the strongest software, and usually as auditors, we're not a big fan of it, and it comes with some built-in weaknesses,
So what happens, it's been several years that you need another review of financial statements, and there's not enough staff. So what is the remedy, if any, of that?
You can have what's called compensating reviews. So if you will need another review, one of the ways you can do what we call a compensating review is the board reviews it or somebody else reviews it. You can hire an outside CPA to do it, but I think with Kelly there and Jeff doing some review, you should be able to structure your internal controls that you can have that.
Because maybe I haven't phrased it correctly, because I thought that was one of the material weaknesses.
Well,
Which has been for several years.
right. Well, I think one of them is that journal entries were being made that nobody was reviewing. So it's just a system of putting a process in place.
Yeah, and
So-
with having AccuFund now, there won't be nearly as many journal entries that we used to have with QuickBooks, because it wasn't
Right.
it wasn't designed for fund accounting like we do.
Okay, thank you.
Tracy? Tracy?
Yes, so with the change to the new accounting system, is that easier, harder, more for the firm, for you to complete your tasks?
I think it'll probably make it somewhat easier.
Okay.
This is the first year of a new software, which for us means we document what's we call the internal controls, the way you do everything. So in this first year, it might be about the same because we got to redocument everything. We spent a lot of time with Kelly just going through procedures and processes, but going forward after that, it should make things easier.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Paul? Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for your time and all the information.
Yep.
And we may run into you on Tuesday.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye.
Tracy, you had your hand raised or waving?
No, I just didn't get it lowered. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we would ask that motion be made to accept the fiscal year 2020 audit.
And I would so move, sir.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion to approve the 1920 audit and a second. Is there any discussion? Mary, do you want to try to take the roll or shall we let Jeff do it again?
Can't, Mary's muted.
I can't, there.
Okay.
We'll let Jeff do it for you.
See what's happening with your problems. Okay, I'm going to do it in order of, so I don't miss anybody, in order who I see on my screen. So I'll start off with Commissioner Alegria,
Aye.
Chair Booth Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Romero,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Nino,
Aye.
and Commissioner Withers.
Aye.
Okay.
It passes. One more to go. Then we'll be caught up. Is that right? Is that why he's coming back on Tuesday?
Yeah, that'll be for the fiscal year ending on June 30th, 21. So we're much closer than we have been in the past. Last year was a big struggle.
All right, good. All right, we're down to public comment. Do we have anybody from the public?
And I don't see anybody in the room from the public. Mary or Kathy, can you take a look at Facebook, see if there's any comments?
I do not see anybody on Facebook with a comment.
Great, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, moving right along. Approval of the board minutes for our meeting September 23rd. Has everybody had a chance to look that over?
And Madam Chairman, can I move to approve those minutes? And then if we can get a second, that way we can do discussion.
Perfect.
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion and a seconded, so we'll go ahead with discussion. Commissioner Nino?
I just had a spelling correction on page 50 of the packet. Right at the top, it says SETD will not be affected. It should be affected with an A, correct?
Thank you.
That's it for me.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, not hearing any. We'll go ahead and let Jeff take the roll. We have a motion. I don't see any other discussion, so Jeff, would you like to take a roll call on a vote?
Commissioner Alegria,
Aye.
Chair Booth Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Romero,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Nino,
Aye.
and Commissioner Withers.
So minutes for our September meeting is passed. And we can move to financial reports.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Enjoying our liquid sunshine.
Yes.
Any questions for me this morning?
Good.
Looking forward to Paul being here next week. He's going to come in and get our audit started. So hopefully we'll get that to just move along a little quicker this year. I think it'll be, like you said, we've got some extra things that we have to do with the new system. But so far so good. He sends me send me this, send me that. So I send him what he wants before he gets here.
Very good. Commissioner Reed?
Okay, I did a hand, not a icon hand. Kelly, on expenses, the 7,000 vet provider payments rides for the month of July totaling, is that just short for veterans, or is that acronym for something else?
That is the Veterans Enhanced Transportation Program.
Okay, and so on average, I don't have the other numbers in front of me, but is that about average for the month, for monthly expenses on that program?
Yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot.
Okay, just thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, and that a lot of that has to do with, when we set up this program, it was the original intent was to bring veterans from where they were at to the DAV van in Astoria. And then they would continue the trip to the VA in Portland. Well, that DAV van hasn't been running. So what transportation we have been doing is generally for vets going out to Camp Rylea.
And are there needs for a Portland trip?
The VA hasn't been, they haven't been doing appointments at the VA. I don't know if they've started up again or not. And Jason was in the room. I don't know what happened to him. He would know better.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jason is here.
Hello. Actually, there have been several visits to Portland lately, just because they've kind of started that back up in a very slow and methodical way. The van is not running. They were running about a month ago, but then shut it back down again because of the rise in COVID cases. So we look to see that van come back again, but in limited capacity.
Thank you.
Yep.
So Jason, I'm sorry, do we know how the vets are getting to the Portland area if they have appointments, or is it on their own?
Yeah, that's a great question. Of the vets that we do transport, the veterans that we do transport right now, at this point, all the ones that we currently service that are currently on our accounts, they have no need to get up to Portland, with the exception of a couple. So I don't know anything beyond that. Our veteran service officer has told me that due to COVID, they've done everything they can to shift all regular appointments, with the exception of a few major surgeries and things like that, to our local services here. Not only Camp Rylea, but because of the Veteran Choice Program allows, the veterans are allowed to find other local services here, rather instead of having to go up to Portland. So that's really kind of where it's been. Really, the need to go to Portland is really minimized at this point. I anticipate that going up, though, once we kind of dip into even a new normal. So,
and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't the VA been doing virtual visits also?
oh yeah, much to the same as regular insurance and so forth. There has been opportunities to do that, and our veterans indeed have been able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I got a follow-up question on that. Is that, do we have in our advisory committee or some means of getting feedback, not just from the program coordinators, but from the veterans themselves about satisfaction with the services?
Jeff, do you want me to go ahead and answer that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Right now, the best way, most of them will not come to, they have no desire to come to any transportation advisory committee meetings. I have tried to get them there to just kind of lend a voice of their own to that meeting. However, though, we do have informal conversations, or I poll a lot of our veterans, usually, all the ones that we do have in our account, I'll poll them and talk about specific things. That's how I've learned, that all of their services are as local as possible. So really, it's informal right now. We do look to hopefully get people to the TAC at some point in time, though. It's a desire to do that.
And I can save some additional questions and comments for your report. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, if there's nothing, Commissioner McDonald?
I just wanted to remark that sometimes the veterans, because of income levels, also qualify for ride care assistance, and which would put them in the pool to provide rides. So private vendors who are in that system. So that's a resource that they have that's available to them.
Thank you. And Jason, did I see your little hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we're aware that it wouldn't be the ride care. It would be the Medicaid brokerage in Tillamook, Northwest Rides. And indeed, they are seeing actually a rise of veterans. I have questioned them on that in the past. So they're seeing a rise in veterans utilize that service.
Correct.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to accept financials as presented.
I so move.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. And a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. And so we have a motion to accept financials as presented. Jeff, would you like to do a roll call?
Sure. Commissioner Legria,
Aye.
Chair Booth Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Romero,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Nino,
Aye.
and Commissioner Withers.
Aye.
All right. The motion to pass financials has passed. All right. Reports from chair and commissioners, and I'll start with the commissioners this afternoon or this morning, and we'll start with Commissioner Allegra.
Well, I participated and get there, had some technical difficulties, although I like the, I do like the program. The setup isn't user-friendly, if that could be looked at for next year.
All right. And Commissioner McDonald?
So recent changes in the because of illnesses within the Kiwanis world, I seem to be not the lieutenant governor-elect, but the lieutenant governor. So I'm trying to arrange my schedule of visitations to use the commuter, Northwest Connector. And so there'll be some other ideas, further information as we go. And that has made my participation in other programs a little less. So it's a balancing act, folks. So that's my report.
Thank you. And Commissioner Romero?
I'd like to say that I took the opportunity to introduce myself to a couple of drivers and introduce myself that I was a new member of the board, and the response was really positive. I really appreciated that. And they appreciated the fact that I stopped and introduced myself, and I thank them for their employment and their service. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Commissioner Reed?
Okay, as guys know, I serve as a citizen representative for the Public Safety Coordinating Council. And so, also serving as a commissioner here with the Transportation District, people have, called on me now and again, and I to ask about what services are available through the Transportation District and asking for, additional assistance. And I've been working with the Public Defender, Kirk Wintermute. We've been kind of communicating back and forth about, and I've mentioned to you before about the need for pretrial probation clients in the county that have, had some issues with getting to appointments. But of course, COVID now has made those appointments remote. So we're really on hold with that. There isn't a big need right now. But Kirk got a hold of me this week, and has another request, and I have gotten some information from Jeff about this, but I just wanted to read to you that there's another underserved population that Kirk is working with, which as a board member of the Lifeboat Services, a local organization that provides several programs for Clatsop County, including a burgeoning homeless drop-in center, providing meals, warming, and outreach for folks on the street. They are also the umbrella organization behind the Beacon Clubhouse, which is a membership-based organization providing support, job training, and socialization for folks with mental illness. So he said that they recently moved to a new location downtown, and there's some participants who struggle with getting there, whether that be from South County or other places outside Astoria city limits. Beacon used to be able to use ride care, but apparently they've changed their rules and no longer allow participants to use their services since Beacon is a non-clinical program. He says he knows that the staff at Lifeboat will sometimes buy bus tickets to help people out, which he believes are provided at a discounted senior and disability rate. But he was wondering if there were any programs that may offer cheaper or free passes for these people. And so I passed that along to Jeff, and Jeff has said that we do have a process for looking into those requests, and that nonprofits contact us. Through the leadership team, they evaluate the requests and then issue, whatever we can do for them. So I'd like to pass that on to Jeff for any comments that he might have about that, if you have any.
Sure. And as I explained to Rebecca, whenever a nonprofit seeks, assistance with, day pass vouchers, we give them a voucher, and then they were able to hand those out, and then those vouchers are turned in by the client on the bus, and they get a day pass for that day. So when a nonprofit has a need, we ask that they write a letter addressed to Mary, because Mary coordinates the program. And then Mary sends out the information to the leadership team, and we review it and do a real quick vote on it. And I have yet to see one voted down. So generally they are approved. And then Mary contacts the nonprofit and makes arrangements for them to pick up the vouchers, or we mail them to them, however. So if you ever know of any nonprofits that have that need, definitely put them in touch with Mary. They can email the request or mail it in, however they want to do it.
Okay, so I just would ask you now, that as opposed to any other time, a little bit about, is there a time limit on that? Is there a dollar amount limit? You say that those requests are usually okayed, but just to give everybody an idea as to what our abilities are to help out.
Yeah, and
how does that extend?
Yeah, and Mary might be able to answer this better than I. Generally, they aren't asking for a whole lot. I know some of our biggest requests come from Helping Hands because they've got multiple facilities in the area. So they tend to ask for more program or for more passes. But one thing I do like about supporting Helping Hands, they do a absolutely phenomenal job each time they have a request. They show what the last batch of passes, what that's meant to their individuals that they serve. And they really go into detail, whether it's getting a person to a doctor, getting them to, counseling, whatever. They do a fantastic job. And we'd really like to see that replicated with other nonprofits. But, as far as quantities, we haven't run into an issue. So if they want 25, if they want 50, if it gets up around 100, we'll look at it a little bit closer, but generally we're able to support as many as possible.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Naino?
Yeah, Rebecca, I was just wondering, were they, the people that you were talking about, are they not close to any of our normal routes? Like, were they using RideCare because they're outside of our fixed routes?
That's a good question, and I can ask Kirk to have that provided in their request. I think I spoke last year about, some of the pretrial people and parole clients who were having trouble with rides because they not only were they not on a route, but they were not even on a route. And that's what made it hard for them, was even to get to a bus stop, or, they were just outside of the service area. So, it almost is one of those things where you need more information from the program and really just kind of fine tune it for, those finite number of clients and fill their needs, so it is a level of detail that I'm hoping that we can work with the organizations with.
Thank you.
And did you have a report, Commissioner Naino?
I do, thank you. So I was, Jason Jones, our mobility manager, reached out to me to participate on the Yes You Can video. And we did it in just one day. We did multiple takes. It was a lot of fun. And I got very excited to see all the possibilities that we can do with video training and making it fun and just like our own version of what educating looks like. So kudos to Jason and thank you for including me.
Right. And Commissioner Withers?
Oh, sorry about that. No, I have no report. Thank you.
Okay. I did watch that video and it was adorable. It was really good. The actors were top. I mean, you guys all did a great job in that video. So yeah, I did like that. I did sign up for the oh, now I can't remember what it was, the ride thing. And I did pretty good up until the time it started. And then my whole life kind of went nuts and I was not able to ride the bus during those times that I really wanted to. Just a little too far away from that bus stop to make it really convenient for me, but I still plan on trying to ride that bus whenever possible. I also just wanted to let the board know that anytime you folks have any questions or want something on the agenda, give me a call. Our policies say myself or Jeff, and I never hear from you guys. So if there's ever anything on that you want on the agenda or just to talk about, and if you need my phone number, email me and I'll be glad to give it to you. I think most of you have it. But basically that's my report. And I'm going to say this twice today. Our next meeting isn't until December 9th. And then I'll remind you at the end of the meeting also, I hope. Okay.
And Chair Booth Smith, I'd just like to remind you that, even though the bus stop's not close to you, we do have bike racks on the buses. So feel free to.
And I actually have a bike. I just have to make sure I can lift it up there. I need a little weightlifting here, but I do have a bike now. So, and it's raining. All right, we'll move on to continued business. And I did talk to Jeff about this a little bit, and that's why it's back on the agenda. My concerns are, this is the mandatory vaccines. I wanted a little bit more information. If the Department of Transportation makes us be mandatory, if that ever comes into effect, I kind of wanted to know maybe how much it would cost if we had to do testing, that type of thing, instead of vaccination. So I had asked Jeff to do a little bit more research on this and what we'd have to do with the union also.
Yeah, and just a little bit of an update, you may have been following this in the news, but President Biden's mandate for employees of 100 and over, or over 100 employees, that's working its way through the system. The federal OSHA has written the rules on that and submitted to the Office of Budget and Management, and that's where it sits right now. Once they release it, then the state of Oregon, because the state of Oregon is one of the states that has a state OSHA plan, and their plan has to be as strict or stricter than the federal plan. And so I have no idea what that plan is going to say. I hear different things. It's likely that that state plan will roll down to local governments, and it could include us. They could lower that threshold of 100 employees, but right now it's just up in the air. So my concern as the director is if we were to move forward with the program now, and then Oregon OSHA comes out with requiring us, and then we'd have to change what we're doing. I would really rather not have to implement two programs, start one and then a month later have to completely redo it and completely renegotiate with the union. So that's my concern, but this is a board's decision. I put in the board packet some information on the cost of testing kits. I also noted that the reliability of these rapid tests is not the greatest. My doctor that I talked with prior to getting tested a few weeks ago indicated 30 to 50% inaccurate. So, that's another consideration as well. But if you've got questions, feel free to ask them, and you guys can continue this discussion to see what direction you'd like to see.
Now, I'd really like to hear, what people are thinking, because, I have a kind of a short fuse for people not getting vaccinated, but that's just me, and I need to hear from other folks, kind of weighing the pros and cons.
I agree with you, Rebecca, but I also want to make sure that we're not having to cut more services. And so the threat of losing possibly even half of those 9 that aren't vaccinated is a big concern to me. I think most of us have ridden the bus recently. They look where the bus drivers are with the plexiglass and whatnot. It looks really safe. Those bus drivers are not really interacting with the riders that much. And to me, without testing, I think we've done everything we can to keep our clients as safe as possible. At least to me, it looks safer than if you're at the grocery store. So I'm fine with the way things are right now, even though I would like to see them all vaccinated. But I also do not want to have to cut services anymore. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. I would like to see them vaccinated, but I also don't want us to cut services. Commissioner Naino, I think you had your hand up first.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Debbie. I think that the risk of us losing drivers, not only losing them and having to reduce the service, but it's also going to put strain on the drivers that are left. And we might risk on them getting very tired, overworked, frustrated, angry, getting sick themselves because of all the stress. So I'd rather not do that, especially because we're in compliance at the moment. If OSHA changes that, if like it's beyond our control, then yeah, then I think we can tackle that when that happens. But COVID cases have gone down lately. More people are getting vaccinated. Soon they'll approve the vaccines for younger kids, and also the booster shots are now open to everybody. So hopefully, yeah, I wish everybody got vaccinated as well. But the way that they're doing it right now, they're being disciplined. The drivers are, covering their face. If they start not doing that, if they were saying like, oh, I don't want to wear a face mask, then yeah, that is a problem. But in the case that they are, doing what they can, I think let's just try to survive this end of the year for a couple of years that have been already so tough. I'd rather keep morale up and not disturb the team that we have.
Thank you. And Commissioner McDonald?
Well, I will agree with all of you. I also, with Commissioner Reed, I agree that we should, continue to emphasize, but we do not need to make more stress for the existing drivers or more of the workload for the safety situation as they're driving the buses. So if things change and if the bridge changes, then we'll cross that when it changes. So.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Withers?
I recently went to Texas to visit my aging mother who is in the onset of dementia. I passed through 3 airports and 3 airplanes getting there and back. And I was sort of worried the whole time because I'm fully vaccinated and getting my booster shot, I think, tomorrow. But I was completely worried about being there. There were a lot of people with no mask on, wandering around amongst people who were vaccinated. And so my thoughts were, wow, the vaccinated still have to worry because of breakthrough infections and all. So I'm totally not good with anyone coming around those in the shop who are vaccinated without masks. So as long as there's masks required for those who don't want to be vaccinated, I'm good with that. But it can't be half done. It can't be partially done. It's an either or for me. If you're not vaccinated, you cannot be around those other folks without a mask on. That said, on the way home, I started feeling respiratory issues and nervous and thinking, oh my goodness. So I get back, and I have not had a COVID test at all. I remained away from everyone the time that before there was a vaccination. So let me tell you, it was terrifying waiting those 2 days to get that COVID test. In the end, I just simply had a regular upper respiratory infection, but the fear of that was crazy. And so I just don't want anyone around whomever in the office who's been vaccinated to be around someone without a mask on. As long as they're masked, I'm good with that. I do agree we need to not lose drivers and build more stress and strain amongst our drivers. But I would be in no way on board with anybody who came around the building who was not vaccinated, who did not have a mask on. Thank you.
All right.
And I was negative, by the way.
Good. Okay, Jeff, I want to thank you for doing the research on that also for us.
And, I think the conversation will continue.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to new business, and Mary, best practice updates.
Oh, you're muted, Mary. Are we gonna? No, can't hear you, Mary. Okay, well, I'm gonna pinch hit for Mary again.
Okay.
So each year, SDIS, Special Districts Insurance Services, which is an arm of Special Districts Association of Oregon, has a best practices program. And if you fully participate in the program, you can get up to 10% discount on your insurance for the year. And since I've been here, we have always taken advantage of this program. Talked with our insurance agency earlier this year, and he was amazed by how many special districts just didn't do it, which is just nonsensical to me. Who wouldn't want a 10% discount on their insurance? Because it does add up. So this year, a lot of emphasis on cybersecurity. And I broke down at the bottom how the 10% is divided up. We get a 2% discount for belonging to the OTA. We get a 2% discount for having a cybersecurity policy, which we had one and we've just updated it. Sue worked with SDIS and got it, and Mary was involved too, got it updated. And I signed it once, but apparently there was one issue in there. Some section was highlighted that shouldn't have been, so I've got to re-sign it. And then that will be distributed out to the employees, and then we'll be able to check that off. 2% discount for filling out the cybersecurity checklist. And this is a checklist asking, I don't know, there was 15 different questions of things. Are we doing these things? And so we were very honest in how we answered them, and looking at the ones that we aren't doing, we'll go back and review those with iFocus. We get a 2% discount for attending cybersecurity risk management training, which, you know, when SDAO has their conference, that's one of the most interesting sessions to sit in on. This year, obviously, it's been virtual, and there's been some online trainings. It is such a rapidly changing issue. New things are thought up, and it's hard to keep ahead of the curve on cybersecurity risk, just because there's so many bad actors out there that come up with just crazy schemes that can affect the district. We get a 2% discount for attending the SDAO or SDIS trainings. So that last one and that first one, being a member of OTA, those are standard ones that are always in there, but then they always focus on a different subject each year. And again, cybersecurity was this year. So Mary will update that checklist after today when I sign that new security policy, and then we will get the maximum 10%. Are there any questions on that?
Commissioner Nina?
Yes, Jeff, since we also as commissioners have email addresses from the district, could we also please get those cybersecurity policies so that we also know what to look for and how to protect the district's information?
Yes, those will go out to the board members as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Commissioner Withers?
I get emails from different locations, and I'm not sure what all comes through our Outlook emails and what comes from some other source directly, not through our Outlook server and emails. I know everything I get from the district comes through there. Do all of our emails route through our Outlook, or are there some emails coming to us not through the Outlook? Because some go straight to spam. And I was curious as to what filters are being used that decide what goes straight to spam and what comes through.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer to that. You know, iFocus, has that set up, in conjunction with Outlook. They have algorithms or whatever that can identify spam emails. There's several things when you go to your spam mailbox, and you should occasionally, because there are some things in there that are actually legitimate emails.
Exactly.
Out of an abundance of caution, some things may end up in there that aren't actually spam. But it seems to be pretty effective. I do, once in a while, I do get some that are definitely containing malwares that, have a link. If you click on this link, and I would just advise, don't ever click on those links unless you are absolutely 100% sure, because that can introduce a bug into our system.
Got a follow-up that
Yes, sure.
that was an issue. I got an email from something that appeared to be legitimate with a link in it. We get so many of them. Often it's someone selling you something, of course, but so you're saying that don't click on any links and assume that you shouldn't read that, or just delete those? Is that what you're saying?
What I would say to the board members, if you get one and you're just not sure, forward it to me and I can take a look at it and I'll let you know. And if I'm not sure about it, I'll forward it to iFocus, and they can determine whether it's legit or not.
Thank you.
And Commissioner McDonald?
Yep, you're muted, Tracy.
So I just this morning, one other time iFocus has had to change. I get an email that asks me to update my password. And as a matter of fact, I got it this morning. And so iFocus previously, so iFocus has changed and corrected that for me. And I might need to be in contact with them.
Okay,
So,
and if you have a question for iFocus, feel free to email them, help desk at iFocus, and they can help you out.
I'll do that. Thank you.
That's what we pay them for.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to the Title 5 plan update. Jeff?
Yep, actually it's Title 6, and
6, sorry about that.
We have to update this plan every 3 years, and it's that time of the season that we needed to update ours. We have a very good policy in place already. We just had to update it with a few things. So Jason is going to discuss it, and then he'll be able to answer your questions. So Jason?
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Indeed, it's that time of the season for us to be getting this done. And I think we do have a really strong plan, like as Jeff said. But first and foremost, I just wanted to make sure you understood that our Title VI plan is actually a guiding principle. Let's think of it as that ensures SETD is always, not some of the time, not yesterday, but is always up to date with what it actually takes to be not just kind of in line, but at the head of the line of preventing discrimination of any kind. But specifically, Title VI mentions based off of race, color, and national origin. So, our plan also ensures that persons, is very important as well, persons with limited English proficiency can access all of our transportation services with minimal assistance. And we definitely do have assistance available for people who need a little extra assistance in that part. This plan's also, it's actually, it's more than simply just fulfilling a requirement, that the government says you have to have this, if you accept federal funds, you have to have this plan. It really is a best practice. It really is a great way to ensure that as part of our DNA, SETD's transportation DNA, we have all of these things taken care of. So what is Title VI? And quite simply, Title VI really is the title that prevents discrimination, like I said earlier, based off of race, color, and national origin. And any program or activity that receives federal funds or other federal assistance, it's really important to recognize that persons with limited English proficiency, like I had mentioned before, must be afforded a meaningful opportunity to participate in all of the programs that we have. Okay. Why is Title VI important? I think it's important really to understand that it allows and it gives people an administrative ability to complain. It gives them an opportunity to file a complaint. It gives them directions and understanding of how to do that with federal departments and agencies. So if there is ever an opportunity, hopefully never with us, but if somebody does have a complaint, a Title VI complaint, this plan gives them a very clear definition on how to ensure that that complaint will be heard and processed appropriately. I think it's also important to understand, what is the definition of a Title VI discrimination? And like I said earlier, based on race, color, and national origin, any program that is receiving these federal, funds have to be able to prevent this example from happening. And one of the examples can be the discrimination can be a racial harassment, school segregation, and denial of language services to English learners. So that's what a Title VI discrimination would be. There are others, but those are some of the most prevalent ones. And then what is a Title VI coordinator? I think that's another important thing. My last one here before I open for questions. And Jeff and myself are pretty much this department, I guess you can say. We're the ones, and Jeff particularly is the one who's authorized to ensure that this compliance, with whatever provisions that we have, whatever our directions are that we're moving in to ensure that we comply with Title VI, that is what a coordinator does, and ensuring that this is updated when it needs to be updated. It's kind of like a living document, so it's always going to change, if so very slightly, like this one is very slightly, nothing that kind of changes the whole of the document. But really, we do have a great plan. Jeff and I work really hard to get this in front of you, and if there are any questions, thank you for them.
Commissioner Allegra.
Page 69, the second paragraph. In your first paragraph, you have, wait a minute. No, I said it backwards. In the second paragraph, you have elaboration, more than just race, color, national origin. So are these not included in the first paragraph? Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, we chose to put the language in the right. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Pamela, several years ago, the previous Board of Commissioners added these additional classifications into our internal policy. The ones you see in the first paragraph, those are federal, that's the federal requirement. But we've gone and we've added, gender identification, marital status, all those other things.
Okay, then on the same page, under purpose, in the first sentence, that establish procedures that allow for, encourage, and monitor the participation of all citizens. Monitor seems, like you have a bit of a police force, and maybe to delete that verb. Okay.
Where is this again, please?
What we mean by that is that we're monitoring the participation. I mean, is the public participation plan that we have effective? And so we're looking at the participation of the general public to make sure that we're meeting their needs.
Okay, well, okay.
if I can just say, it's not necessarily like a surveillance. That's not what the idea is. No, we monitor ourselves every single day through this plan to ensure that we are keeping up with the requirements.
Or review, would that not convey what you want?
Review, we could change that word.
Okay. And then on the same page,
What page are you on, Pamela, please?
69, under objectives, to delete the comment because it doesn't make sense. It's barriers is the noun, exist is the verb, and you don't put a comma between them.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and then the next one, it says to provide notification of meetings. And my comment is on the next one, particularly when public input is sought. All meetings, you have public input. That's by law. You have public input. Unless I misunderstood.
No, public meeting laws doesn't necessarily mean public input. Public comment.
Comment, okay.
Yeah, but this is specific to the public participation plan. So like say what we're going through the long-range comprehensive transportation plan. We had a robust outreach effort to stakeholders and different groups out there and the public as a whole. And so we just want to make sure that we afford everybody the opportunity to provide input to these type of things.
Is there a word that you could use after input, like laws, statutes, or something?
I don't necessarily think that's needed.
Okay. And then on page 71, I guess now you said that race, age, national origin, color, and disability are federal regulations. Correct. Now, if you're filling this out and you said, well, you can file a complaint about marital status, sexual orientation, religion, general identification, how do you know you can do that if it's not listed?
Somebody could write it in, I suppose. This form is specific for Title VI or ADA complaints. And this is a required form, and what we have in here, it has been accepted by ODOT and the FTA to make sure that our Title VI program is compliant.
So people wouldn't know actually that they can file a complaint under the other categories provided by previous board members.
Well, Title VI is just specific to these categories.
So for the ones that the previous board incorporated, is there any place that this is noted?
No, they could certainly write it in, and then we would deal with it internally.
And Jeff, I'd also like to note here, if you look down onto page 73, there is a pretty extensive complaint procedure form. And again, this is directed from ADA and Title VI and so forth. So this is kind of the instruction form that we have that helps people understand how to do that very thing. So.
But it doesn't state what you can do. And these additional categories are very relevant and prevalent now. So how?
What I would suggest is that we just add other to it.
Whoop. Did you just say goodbye?
Add the word other.
Okay. I've lost you here.
What do
But you're cutting me off here. Well, let's see. Okay, I'm finished. Thank you. And I try to get back on here.
And I'm sorry, I didn't say whose hand went up first, so I'm just going to start and go as I see you. And we'll start with Commissioner McDonald. You're on mute.
I don't have any questions. Can we, Madam Chairman, can I make a motion to adopt this update to the plan? We're going around the bush here with all this, so I move that we adopt this.
I still have a correction.
Question.
We'll do this discussion.
Okay.
We'll continue the discussion. So
That I think we should discuss that after. Yeah.
okay, Commissioner McDonald has made a motion to adopt this, and if I get a second, then we can continue our discussion.
I second the motion.
All right, then we'll go back to discussion. And Commissioner McDonald, is that all you needed?
No, yes. I just wanted to make the comment. I appreciate the efforts of staff. We're in a population now of a county, just over 41,000 people. And I think for that, we have an excellent staff compliance ratio for our community. And I appreciate that and commend the staff for that. So I'm done.
Thank you. Commissioner Romero?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for doing this report. I really appreciate it as a person of color. One of the things that strike me is the word minority. And I don't know if you're using that word to be consistent with federal reporting, but I would highly suggest to maybe use another word that's more reflective of the our population of color. Using the word minority is a little offensive to me.
Where are you referring to in the document specifically?
Well, for example, on page 70, you have a category minorities, and then on the second sentence, it says reasonable efforts to engage minority populations.
What do you think would be more appropriate?
Well, based on my experience, I think maybe people of color or populations of color.
Like a BIPOC?
Yeah.
So I think persons of, let's see. So persons of color replaces minority.
Yes, if you could, yes, that's my suggestion.
BIPOC is actually used more officially, like on documents from Oregon Health Authority, like state documents. BIPOC, it would be interesting, not interesting, it would be good if you included not just the acronym, but then what does it mean, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color.
If I could, Arla, have you heard this come up before? And do you see any issue with changing that?
I don't see any issue with changing it. I see that what the law is, it doesn't say minority. So I think there's no reason to change it to BIPOC. I mean, not to change.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Arla.
All right, thank you.
That's a great comment, I appreciate it.
Yes, I do too. I think that was really good. Commissioner Reed?
Okay, on that same paragraph, now called titled BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, People of Color, towards the end, just an updated title for the Lower Columbia Hispanic Council, which is now Consejo Hispano.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Sure, I'm sure I would just slip past you.
Yeah, and it did slip past us. So Jason's changing that as we speak.
Okay, and I also wanted to mention that that the staff, are we asking the staff and leadership to help, plus not only Consejo Hispano, but other groups, service groups, to get feedback from those that we serve? I know there must be a measure of that, but what is that?
Yeah, like I referenced earlier, when we did the long-range comprehensive transportation plan back in 2016, that was an 18-month process. And we reached out and met with several service groups, different populations, different groups that represent certain populations to gather input. So when we're doing our planning efforts, the same thing happened last year when we updated our coordinated human services transportation plan. We did the same thing to make sure that, that we're following the public participation plan that we've, have in this document. So that's part of our DNA.
I'm glad that is happening. I assumed it was, but checking in now and again with some of these important partners that we have in the community, especially for the Title VI, keeping that door open and making sure that, we're really getting some unvarnished, kind of honest response as to how we're doing.
Yeah, and just so you know, I like one group that I'm in, we meet monthly, and it affords that exact opportunity.
Good to hear. Thank you.
And Commissioner Nino.
Thank you. I have a lot of comments on this. First, I really appreciate that I can see the effort in really trying to better our service and better the opportunities that we give our BIPOC riders and community. So thank you, because I do see the effort, but we can do better. So I have a few things. If we go to page 70, I really appreciate Commissioner Romero's change in wording for BIPOC. So going back to the Consejo Hispano, for those who don't know, I actually work for Consejo Hispano. So I was wondering, since this plan is going to be good for 3 years, was it discussed with Consejo Hispano's leadership to be included in this plan for 3 years? Because that's a huge commitment.
No,
and that's the only organization that's listed on the plan.
Yeah, and that's a carryover from the last time we wrote the plan. It was prior to the TAC, the new Transportation Advisory Committee, being set up, and that's when I did work with them to, and that's how you landed on the TAC, is because of working with them. And looking at the next 3 years, you're going to be on there. This doesn't actually necessarily need to be in there.
Yeah, because I just thought, we're actually going through a change in leadership at the moment. Like for nonprofits, 3 years is a lot. Okay. And so I just don't want us that if anything should happen, not that I'm saying, but if anything should happen, if the wording could be changed, something like connections with local translators and a list of resources, SETD shall work with, and then include some of what Commissioner Reed was saying, like with local organizations or culturally appropriate local organizations such as. So it could be maybe included as a suggestion. So to have such as Community Action Team, Consejo Hispano, so that we have some examples, but it's not as binding that if anything happens with an organization that we're left in the air.
That's a great suggestion. We'll change that. I like that a lot.
Thank you. Then continuing on the next page, page 71, this is the actual discrimination complaint form. So first on section 1, when it says actual accessible format requirements. If we can avoid acronyms, because maybe TDD might mean something to the person that needs it, but if we could explain what it is or make a note at the end of the complaint, but just to look, I don't know what TDD is, for example. So if somebody was answering this or filling up this complaint form on behalf of someone else, and they don't know what TDD means, it would help them out.
Okay, we can expand that.
Also on that same page, section 3, I agree with adding the other so that people know that they can include it there. On section 4, it says, have you previously filed a discrimination complaint with this agency? Could we please specify what agency is? Sunset Empire Transportation District, or because we on the following page, there's all of the other agencies, so as not to confuse people. So have you filed a discrimination complaint with Sunset Empire Transportation District?
Yes.
And it says yes, no, and I think it would be good to add if yes, when. Or I don't know if maybe that's.
We wouldn't necessarily have to do that because we would have that record.
Okay, great. Next page. On section 6, it says name of agency complaint is against contact person, title, telephone number. Is this to be filled out by the complainant or by Sunset Empire Transportation District?
This whole form is completed out by the person filing the complaint.
Because then that is very confusing for somebody who's not, fluent in official speak. Name of agency complaint is against, that would be, I guess, Sunset Empire Transport. Contact person, what does that mean?
That would be who they contacted. So say they called in or emailed into questions and who.
So then, yeah, try to make this a little more clear. So person contacted at SETD, for example. Because this would feel almost like a contact person where me, the person filling this out for me. Same thing, title of contact person.
Yeah.
And then, telephone number, or say, since now a lot of the communication is done by email, or so maybe include way that you contacted this person, phone, email, in person.
Method.
And at the end of this form, it says signature and date. Since this complaint form can be filled out on behalf of the complainant, maybe we should specify if the signature in there, is it the complainant's or the representative?
Or what?
Or the representative, the person filling it out for them.
Okay.
So either to make it clear, it could be signature, complainant signature, date, representative signature, date, or something like that.
Okay.
Awesome. If we continue on to, also on the complaint form, I took a look at how writers could access. So I understand that we have printed complaint forms in the transportation. Man, I forgot. Astoria Transportation Office. Correct? The transit center. So we have them also in Seaside?
I believe we do. We'll make sure.
Okay. And then I tried reaching the complaint form on our webpage, and it's not obvious at all. So if we're considering that people might be LEP, or maybe disability, the way that it's on our website, it says Title VI. A lot of people don't know what Title VI is. So reaching the actual complaint form online is kind of hard.
Yeah, right.
And then my biggest issue with our complaint form is that it's only available in English. And if the complaint form is for people that might not speak English, it's even if they get somebody, even if somebody says like, oh, I'll fill it out for you, but it's a little bit of a, it's a smack on the face. Like, yeah, you're complaining that you're not included, and we're not including you on our complaint form because it's in English only. So if we could translate the complaint form, I think that would definitely make it more accessible.
Okay, hang on, I'm looking at something here. I see what you're saying. That's a good point. We'll put it up in Spanish also.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Let's continue on to page 78. Targeted public outreach. So this talks about how, in trying to engage the general public, that we would provide interpreting services. And I understand that they have to give advance, not require. Man, my English is failing me at the moment. They have to request. They have to request interpreting 7 days in advance. Are we also including ASL, American Sign Language, for deaf and hard of hearing people?
Any language.
So
Which-
then,
Which would include ASL.
yeah. So if we could include that, and it could be either an interpreter, if it's a Zoom meeting or something, it could be a live ASL interpreter, or closed captioning. You know, if we at some point could have maybe our meetings closed captioned or something like that. So I think that should be included in the actual plan. The language saying that ASL is one of the languages available. Also, another thing that could be done, especially on meetings that we are seeking input, then it could either be that the meeting has an interpreter, or that additional meetings can be planned. So like, okay, meeting in English is this day, or at this hour, at this time, and then at this time it's gonna be in Spanish, or, in something else. So that's just a suggestion. It doesn't necessarily have to be included in the plan.
I'm going to run that one up the flagpole at ODOT.
Awesome, thank you. Then, following up with Commissioner Romero's suggestion on the next page, page 80. So instead of saying minority representation table, that we change that wording also as well, especially since it's including Caucasian in there. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have an answer to what it could be, but just change our wording.
We'll update that.
Also, as a Hispanic woman myself, I'm often kind of torn in the fact that the options are always just very limiting. There's not the option of, if somebody has 2 different races, that's not included. Like, where do you include yourself if you have a parent from one race and another parent from another one? So if we could, I know that on the other reports, it was included. And I think it would be good to say, more, or other, or more than one.
2 or more.
There's some examples out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that way we allow people to say like, yeah, I don't identify as either or. So they have that option.
Okay.
Next, on page 83, Clatsop County census. What year is this information taken from? 2010 or 2020?
2020.
So could we include 2020 in there?
Yes.
Awesome. Next page, 84. On the bottom, it says LEP assistance. So when we are listing the following are written communications that are to be available in print in Spanish. So I just wanted that on, since this is our plan for the next 3 years, that we include on that list the Title VI ADA discrimination complaint form.
The what?
That the complaint form will be included as an important document to be available in print in Spanish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I had a question on that list of documents. When it says, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, item 4, fair information on fare boxes. Does that include token transit?
Yes, it could. Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Next page, page 85, under language assistance. I do love that we have the flashcards. I did not know we had the language identification flashcards, so that makes me very happy. That's very good. Do we have those flashcards at both the Astoria and Seaside Transit offices?
Jason was checking on that. Jason? Yeah.
Indeed, yes. They are updated every once in a while, so we do probably have to update them, but you have them on both locations.
Awesome. So then on that item, SCTD will provide language identification flashcards. Instead of saying at the transit center, maybe say at our transit centers or something. So that it's at all of our transit centers.
Sure.
Then I had a general question that it's not on that page, but I do know that on the budget, we did include that we were going to contract an interpreting service. Maybe this is not the moment to discuss it, but I would like to know what services do they provide? Like as we contract with them, what is it that it's included for us?
Well, we haven't used them yet because what we've had to do to have things translated, we need it immediately, like same day. So we haven't had the opportunity to engage a thing, but with what you're saying here for this document to have them translated into Spanish, we will do that. And we'll select somebody that does both written translations and that we can use as a translator via phone if we need to.
So then for the documents, how much in advance do we have to request those?
Well, you can have things rushed. It depends on which company. They can generally turn things around in like 2 weeks to a month, or if you need it expedited, then it's generally 3 to 4 days.
Okay, I see. So then they provide us with document translation and also like for videos or for meetings, they would be the.
We could use them for that, yes.
How about for translating material like videos, like Jason's videos?
Yeah, we could use them for that.
Cool. Would they also include ASL? Would they do the closed captioning for us at board meetings?
No, we're working on that independently. We're researching some other things for closed captioning.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. On the next page, page 86, at the top it says outreach techniques. So it says, when staff prepares a document or schedules a meeting where the target audience is expected to include LEP, then documents, meeting notices, flyers, and agendas will be printed in an alternative language based on the known LEP population. I'm wondering, since it says staff prepares a document, would we be using our professional language services or would staff be using Google Translate?
No, staff doesn't use Google Translate.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The things that we have done in-house, we use Microsoft Word. And that from what I've talked with different people has been the best thing locally you can use. Perfect. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
Understand that there's several different dialects of Spanish and we can't be one in everything. We just have to do the best we can. You know,
Yeah, I know, but it's not the dialects necessarily. It's that sometimes there are certain things that the machine just can really properly do, especially if it's like an expression or something like that. So I just have a suggestion. Since I've seen that we post all of our jobs, I do have a correction on the translation that always comes up on the different job posts that we've done for when it says position open until filled. The way that it translates to Spanish is wrong. So
okay.
I can contact Mary.
We'll
Yeah,
stop
I'll
posting
contact
those.
Mary directly.
And we'll
about
have to,
that one.
what we'll have to do then is we'll have to post jobs in English and then send it off to the translation company. And then when we get it back from them, whether it's 4 weeks or 4 days, then we'll post it. So it's culturally sensitive.
We could maybe post, like get the request for the translation service, post it as, translated by word, or so that the opportunity is available. And then once we get the proper translation, then replace it. But I wouldn't want there not to be a Spanish version for 4 weeks just because our service takes a while. But I will contact Mary directly about that one specific phrase that it's easily correctable.
Okay, you can just send an email to me.
Okay, I'll send it to both of you then, because I do know that Mary does the publishing of these things, correct?
We both do.
Awesome. Okay. Let me see. And that is it for me. Thank you so much for your patience and for your grace on listening.
Thanks for your input. You've also provided
Thank you.
valuable information for me.
No, and I appreciate you going through this so carefully. So I really do appreciate that. Commissioner Reed?
Yes, I'd like to say thank you, Commissioner Nino, for going through this thoroughly. Also, I really appreciate it. The one thing I was just going to mention, and I think that this is helpful for any documents, and you guys may have covered this and I didn't hear you say it, but when there's acronyms like LEP, initially you do need to spell them out. And I would say, not for SETD necessarily, but at the beginning of every document, get all the descriptions of what those acronyms mean. It's really hard to, I had to look up on Google, some of the stuff just to figure out what things were. So if we could do that, it would really get people farther down the road for reading through and understanding the materials. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and Commissioner McDonald, your hand's still up. Is that just left from earlier?
With all of this, I just would like to change my motion, Madam Chairman, per person, to that we adopt this with corrections and or additions. And if that's okay with Commissioner Reed, and she would agree on the second. So,
I agree with second, yes.
okay.
All right. Is there any other discussion on this?
Not a discussion, but I do. Commissioner Withers pointed something out to me about the language that if we go back to page, let's see, 80, when we had the representation table, so where it says Latino, for those of you who don't know, Spanish is a very sexist language, and a lot of the subjects are done in male. So now that we're being more inclusive, instead of saying Latino, you could put Hispanic dash Latinx, or if you just want to put Latinx, so that we also include people in Latin America that don't speak Spanish, that they speak other languages. So we could just change Latino to Latinx.
Okay.
Hey. All right, so we're ready to take a vote, and by Robert's rules, we need to vote on the amended motion, and then we will need to vote on the original motion. So Jeff, do you want to do the vote count, and we'll start with the amended?
Commissioner Alegria,
Aye.
Chair Booth Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Romero,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Nino,
Aye.
and Commissioner Withers.
Okay, the amended motion passes, and now we'll move to the original motion.
Commissioner Alegria,
How could, I don't understand it. I mean, how can we vote? We're voting with amendments, so why do we vote for something that we have changed?
Robert's rules.
Okie dokie. I don't understand, but
Chair Booth Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair McDonald,
Aye.
Commissioner Romero,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Nino.
So are we voting again, or?
It's for the original motion, which was
With-
Robert's rules. With Robert's rules, you have to vote on the amended and then the original.
Oh, okay, I understand. Thank you. Yes.
And Commissioner Withers.
Right, so the motion passes that.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Go
Oh, no,
ahead.
I'll let you finish, please. I'm sorry.
Motion passes that the Title VI plan update passes with the corrections and the amendments that we made during discussion. Commissioner?
Thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to know if we would get a copy of the amended one on our next meeting, or how do we access?
When it's completed, yes, you will get an.
Awesome. Thank you.
And
Commissioner McDonald?
And I just wanted to let everyone know the TDD is a telephone device that folks who are hard of hearing would be having access to. And it is specific. I agree, they would be the only people that would recognize that. It's a piece of equipment that they would have on their phones that is attached. So if you ever see that again, that's what it's for.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to correspondence.
The only thing that we got in the mail recently, we got the other day, it was a nice thank you card from Classic Care Health District for the great job that Jennifer's crew does in paratransit, picking up their clients and taking them to their places that they need or want to go. So it was very nice. Got probably a dozen signatures of staff members at the health district. So that was a nice little thank you card. And that was it.
Okay, then moving on to the executive director's report.
All right, so again, my report's in your packet. A couple other things I want to talk about, and then I'll take some questions. Currently working with Tillamook County Transportation District on their updated coordinated human service plan. They put an RFP out for it. They got 2 submittals, and so we're meeting this afternoon. I'm on their review committee to score it and determine what consultant is going to be chosen to guide that plan. Now I can't read oh, yes, I can. I think I sent out, did I send out an email to you about the website and the new online application? Did I mention that somewhere? So let me pull it up real quick. We've been learning a lot about, well, there's been a lot of discussions nationwide about, driver shortages and recruitment. And Paul and Sue and I attended, and Jennifer attended a, oops, pardon me a second here, I can't talk and click at the same time, apparently. It was one of the best webinars that I've seen CTAA put out there. It really, we took away a lot of great points that we can use in the district for recruiting to make things easier. And one of the biggest things I got was you have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to get somebody that's looking for a job to engage with you. And so what we did have before was just a link to a application form, which is several pages long, that the person would have to print out and hand fill it in. And I can't stand that. I've long wanted to have an online application. And so I was mentioning it at our last Northwest Connector meeting, the WADA meeting. And I mentioned I'm going to, because I'd seen some examples out there, and I was going to work with iFocus to have that set up. And one of the people from Tillamook County said, hey, we got it set up on our website. So I was thrilled to hear that they had that. So I was able to get a hold of Trillium, who supports our website. I back up. I wouldn't have contacted iFocus. I would have contacted Trillium. They were the ones that set it up for them. So let me share my screen here real quick. And share. And let me move you guys over here. So can you see our website?
Mhm.
Okay. So we added a new button, it says employment. And if you click on that, here's the new application. We just want their first, last name, their phone, their email. What position are you applying for? Right now, we're only recruiting for drivers. If we had additional ones, they would drop down this for the other positions available. Then we ask them, do you have a valid driver's license? Do you have 3 years driving experience? And that just means, have you driven a car for 3 years? Or have you had, licensing or a driver's permit for 3 years? And are you eligible to work in the United States? That's all we want. And so they fill that out, they submit it. It comes to my email. And actually right now it comes to my spam email because I haven't got that fixed yet. And then I direct it to Sue, and then she immediately contacts them, does a phone screening, and then based on the phone screening, we'll bring them in for an interview. And at that time, they'll have the full application that they'll need to fill out. But using this link, like in Indeed or like on our webpage where we have the job postings, we put a link to this and they just go straight to it, fill it out. It gets them to contact us. And that's what we're lacking. We are not getting people applying. So when they come in and go through the interview, we'll go over everything they need to know. You don't want to put in the initial application that we do drug tests. You don't want to put in there that we do background checks. Those are barriers. And you want to break down those barriers because people may think, well, I smoke pot, I do whatever, I won't be eligible. Well, you don't know that for sure. I may have been arrested some time ago. That'll be in my background check. We don't care. We care, but we want to have that conversation face to face because we're not interviewing that person that may have made a mistake 20 years ago. We're looking at the person that's sitting in front of us right now. So that's why we want to have that conversation. Get them in the door, have the conversation, and then we'll go from there. Because there's very few things now in the background check that will prevent them from working for us, or the ability to get their CDL. And Charles, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, Jeff, I like the quicker application. I think it's best I was in sales marketing my entire life, and the quicker you get someone into you, the better off you are. I would add something though. What it doesn't really deal with is, say someone's going to be moving out here in a year, and they just want to get out there that they're interested in the transit. That can turn into a pool of potential applications down the road. I think you can't, once you get them to the link, you want them to be able to also be able to say, by the way, I'm moving out there in a year and I'll be interested when I move out there. So I would add something to not just disqualify them right now up front, or to make them not leave some information.
Okay, let me think about how I would do that. But
Because
okay.
I mean, there are people who are planning to move out here maybe a year from now and would be interested in working for us.
Okay. So that was one of my biggest takeaways, and I absolutely love this. If you go to our back to our homepage where we post the jobs at, like here, job openings, you click on drivers, and here's the easy link to it right here. They just have to click on that, and it takes it right to them. And again, it's in Spanish as well. And again, they can click here. And this is another one of those things we'll have to figure out unless we do this. And it does do, this is a Google Translate that's on the website. The website does use Google Translate for all languages. So anyway, so that was neat. And along with that, I mentioned before, oh, I'm sorry. I see Rebecca, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, can you go back to the homepage of the website for a second? Yeah. Because, one of the things that I have an issue with our website is that, nothing really stands out. I mean, somebody's got to be pretty motivated to find the employment button over there in the bottom right. If this is an important thing for us, maybe we need to highlight it some more and make it, show up as important. And you click onto employment, and then you're immediately onto all of the pertinent operations of that. Instead of it just kind of having the same weight as all the other things, that's one issue. But I also wanted to say that, for employment, the housing issue is just staring us in the face too. It's so hard for people to find housing. And I don't want to get ahead of you there, but I might as well, while I'm talking, I just want to give a shout out about the Returning Citizens program that you're going to talk about. I'm really interested in that. And of course, as you were saying, now, most organizations for employment, they are not doing, felon and, like check the box. And that was a really big thing a few years ago in legislation. Multnomah County, I think, leading the charge on that is that you're not requiring to check the box, because then, like you said, people aren't even getting to square one, with employability and getting an interview.
Right. And exactly. And that's one of those barriers that we want taken away, because we want to have that conversation with them. And what Sue do in that conversation, when she brings up the drug testing or the background check, she'll say, is there anything we need to know about? And opening that door for that person to say, yeah, 15 years ago, I did this, blah, blah, blah. But that's way behind me. That's what we want to hear. We don't want to be surprised. If we are surprised, then we'll follow up with them. But really we want to let them know that we're interviewing the person of 2021, not the person of 1999. So we understand that people make mistakes. We all make mistakes in our past. So thank you for that comment. Yana, is it you?
Yes, I really love that we've simplified this process. I think it's great. I myself have had to fill out these horrible long things, and it's not good.
Yeah.
On the description of the job, if you can pull it up on the screen.
The driver, the conductor.
Yeah, the driver.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is the other thing we did. And this was another suggestion we got out here. You just make it brief, because again, you've got 3 minutes. So we hit them with this, we show them this, and then when we go through the interview or the phone screen, then we go into the whole job description thing.
Yeah. So then in here, when we say SETD is an EEO, again, let's try to avoid acronyms, because I don't even know what that means.
Equal opportunity.
Employer, yeah.
There you go. So that's an important one. And also just a minor correction. It says, if you like to drive, it should be, do you like to drive and help others? Come join us.
Where are you at?
Second sentence.
Second sentence. Yes.
Oh,
Thank
if you like to. Oh, so say, do you like to drive?
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's more of the definitive.
I got you. Got a question mark in there.
Yeah,
Hey.
just, do enjoy the having different font sizes and be a little more overemphasizing, maybe in the text. It'll stand out better.
Okay. Good points. Thank you. So, shifting to the Returning Citizens Program, just to go back to the beginning of it, one of my colleagues in the state of Iowa, Julia Castillo, she's the general manager, executive director, I believe, of HERDA, which is the Heart of Iowa Regional Transit Authority. And she had written a blog post that CTAA, the Community Transportation Association of America, sent out about looking at returning offenders, and seeing what we could do to employ them. And it was one of those things, when I read it, I got all fired up. I got very excited about it, and I ran with it. And so far, we've set it up locally to back up a little bit, because one of the early meetings that I had was with the Workforce Investment Board, which our local Workforce Investment Board covers 5 counties: Columbia, Clatsop, Tillamook, Lincoln, and Benton counties, which happen to be the same counties as part of the Northwest Connector system. I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, I'm going to stop sharing here. They were very interested in what we were working on. And, when I met with them, it was their executive director and 3 of the people that work there. And I explained, I'm working on it on a statewide level, but also locally. So Sue and I met with the sheriff and the head of parole and probation, and the Workforce Investment Board sent one of the representatives, Jerry, to our meeting. So we met face to face over at the sheriff's office, or parole and probation office, and had a great meeting. And what we talked about what we wanted to offer some of their clients that they felt would be helped by this, because not only does it open up a pool of people for us, but it helps those individuals be more successful while they're on probation or parole. And by doing that, that could help reduce the recidivism rate to where they're landing back in jail or back in prison. So they were on board with us. So Sue immediately put together a recruitment package that she got over there. And this week we got 3 referrals from parole and probation, and I was absolutely thrilled. So we'll, Sue has been getting in contact with them and setting up stuff. So, more to come on that. On a statewide level, I assembled a team. 2 of my counterparts, Andy Howell from the city of Sandy, who runs their transit department, and then Scott Chansey down in Josephine County, who runs the Josephine County's transit department. And Andy from Sandy, she's also, Andy from Sandy, it kind of rhymes, it's cool. She's also the Oregon Transit Association's president. And so that's why I wanted her involved too. And so the three of us, along with Marcia Hoskins, who's ODOT's Public Transit Division's program and policy and program implementation manager, met with representatives from the Department of Corrections and the Department of Motor Vehicles. DMV was at the meeting also because they were very interested in it. And it was a good meeting. I was able to share what our ideas were, what my vision was, is to train people that are going to be getting released on parole or they've served their time and they're reentering society, to get them trained while they're incarcerated, to gain their commercial driver's license so they could become a transit driver, with my vision of they're completely trained with the exception of a driving test inside the prison walls, and they can walk out. They can go apply for a transit agency in the community that they're living in or get released to, and can get the driving test done at DMV and get their CDL and hopefully get hired right away. Because, if somebody gets out of prison and they wait for things, bad things can happen, especially if they're, when they're released back into the community that they were adjudicated at and offended at. Their old peer support network may be still there and be a bad influence anyway. So we're trying to make them successful when they get out and helping us in the transit world get more drivers. It's something that I'm a visionary guy. I would have never thought of this though, and that's why I've ran with it. I've just learned last night that DMV reached out to Idaho because Idaho actually has a program set up in their prison system, and it's not transit drivers, but it's just commercial driver's license. They're looking at it for truck driving. And when we met with DMV and the Department of Corrections, one of the people from DMV really wanted to see this expanded to all the different CDL industries like short haul and long haul trucking, school bus driving. And I told them, I said, I'm going to be selfish on this. I said, we're in a world of hurt like everybody else is for drivers. I said, I'm open to having the conversation on it. But one thing that they have to realize is that ODOT's Public Transportation District has money for this program, and it can only be used for transit drivers. So we're going to be meeting again, I think, in about a month, maybe early December. And I'm going to propose that we do a pilot program with transit first. And then if that's successful, then we can coordinate rolling it out to the other industries if they're interested in participating. But because of funding that's available, it has to be used for transit. So that's how we're going to sell it. We also had a nationwide town hall with CTAA and the National Workforce Investment Board Association. And so I popped in on that one, and the panelists were Scott Bogren, who's the executive director of CTAA, and then Julia Castillo, who got this thing rolling. And then the executive director of the National Workforce Board Association was asking questions and stuff, and then people were afforded the opportunity to ask questions. And it was a great town hall. I was able to speak in it to let them know that what we're doing locally and what we envision in Oregon, and that we had already met with the local Workforce Investment Board, and everybody that was on that call in the Workforce Investment Board world, they were very, very interested in it and excited about it. So we see that snowballing on a nationwide basis. We also had last month a nationwide Zoom call with transit agencies from across the nation. Julia and I put it on, and we explained what Iowa, what she's doing in Iowa, and what we've been doing here in Oregon, both locally and statewide. And again, a lot of interest in this. And we actually had a lot of transit agencies from Oregon and a lot of ODOT staff. All the RTCs, except for one, regional transit coordinators, were on the call. And so it really generated a lot of excitement. And ODOT's been working on it down in their offices. Jamie Baldwin, who's the training coordinator for ODOT Public Transit Division, has found a training program that could possibly be used. I've been looking into simulators. One thing we talked about our call with the Department of Corrections was, they're limited on space. So if there's any way that a mobile unit could be, built and have the simulators within that mobile trailer, that would be good. So I don't know of any that are out there specific to transit, but maybe I can get somebody to build one. I don't know. But getting back to the phone call with the nationwide transit agencies, everybody was very interested in it. There's going to be a lot more conversation on it. We're going to have a follow-up phone call on November 17th. And more people are going to be on that phone call because the word has started to spread. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be in Richmond, Virginia, along with Jennifer and Jason for the CTAA Expo. And at the same time, the American Association for State Highway Transportation Officials is holding a quarterly meeting there with MTAP, which is the Multi-State Technical Assistance Program. And Marcia from ODOT will be at that meeting. But I've been invited, I thought, to speak to them at one session. I got an updated invitation that they've got 2 sessions that they'd like me to be at. So I get to keep talking about this program, which I love to do right now because it is an important, it's the most important thing in public transit right now is the lack of drivers. And everybody, it's not just us, it's not just Oregon. This is an epidemic nationwide. And it's not just public transport, it's every sector of the economy is struggling. So anyway, moving forward on that, I'm very excited about how we've become the leader. We leapfrogged Iowa, and that's why Julia called me and said, "Hey, you guys are way past what we're doing in Iowa. Would you speak at ASHTO?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'd be happy to." So more to come on that. I think little Sunset Empire Transportation District is going to be on the map. So Rebecca, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just want you to know that I would be happy to assist you in any way. I have a significant background in criminal justice reform. And, so I have just a plethora of comments about it, but I'm going to save that, because I hope that you will tap me because at an appropriate time, because I have already have a lot of contacts and I have had advocacy experience with the Department of Corrections for state of Oregon. Thank you.
And I should circle back around, that meeting with the local workforce investment board has paid off. They have offered to, well, first of all, they got a hold of me after that meeting with the sheriff and Kristen and asked how much it costs to train a driver. And so Sue put the numbers together, and they're a very rough number, but it's ballpark. It costs us about $5,000 to train somebody. That's their wages, their costs of testing and getting their CDL. It's about $5,000. So I let them know that. So I got a call from their executive director last Monday, and they are going to support us by providing $3,000 per person for the people that we hire out of probation, the probation department for their training. So that was just like, that's another story I get to tell in a couple of weeks when in front of ASHTO, in front of a national audience, that there is that partnership with the Workforce Investment Board is great. And they have, Department of Labor has a lot of money out there, and that's what their job is to funnel that money down to the local world. So anyway, very excited about that. One of the things Paul's working on is a very difficult grant application. He might mention it. We have the Section 5339B grant for buses and bus facilities. And so we're going to be putting in an application next week. It's due next week. We hope to have it wrapped up pretty much today, because it's due Monday, I think. Is that right, Paul? Wednesday. Okay. Wednesday. So we may procrastinate until Tuesday to get it wrapped up. But I mentioned before about looking at how we deliver service. Right now we have fixed routes everywhere, and we have very limited dial-a-ride, which is called demand response. Well, the one thing that's really rolled out across the nation, and it started in urban areas, is a thing called Microtransit. And I think I referred to it last month. It's like public transportation, Uber public transportation, where people can use their phone, they'll have an app, and they can request a ride. And the ideal situation, what I kind of envision is that we would keep the Route 101, and this is just a concept right now. This is, we're looking at this. We keep Route 101 running we would run it from Astoria all the way down to Cannon Beach, actually. And then have microtransit set up in each of the cities. Have one, have it set up here in Astoria, have it set up in Warrenton, have it set up in Seaside, have it set up in Cannon Beach. And so people in those communities could, like you do in Uber when you go to the city, request a ride, here's where I'm at, here's where I need to go. And then the software will coordinate that ride. And really, ideally, they wouldn't have to wait more than 15 to 20 minutes for their ride. So rather than going to a bus stop and waiting for an hour, when we have routes that, it's only, we only run it every hour, they could get picked up a lot quicker. And if they don't have mobility issues, they'll probably be directed to a virtual bus stop, which is probably, as an example, be the corner of their block that they live on. If they are mobility challenged, we already operate paratransit, which we'd be using the same type of vehicles. It would be a curb-to-curb service where they get picked up at where they're at and then taken to where they need to go. But the idea is we would feed that main Route 101 with the smaller vehicles, and we're talking, either small cutaways or vans, to get them to that main route. So if they're in Astoria, they need to go to Warrenton. We'll bring them from the hill down to the transit center, and they'll get on the bus and go across the bay. So again, it started out in urban areas, but in the last couple of years, it's really taken off in rural areas, and we're seeing some very impressive ridership increases in some of the agencies that have adopted this, because it's a better service for the person. If they're getting picked up close to their house, that's better than having to walk, from the hill down to the transit center to get picked up. So the 5339 grant, we're going to be putting in for 4 smaller vehicles, for the small cutaways or vans. And the reason we want to do that, and when I say a small vehicle, I'm talking less than 16 seats, because any transit vehicle that has 16 seats or more, and that includes the driver, that requires a CDL. By having less seats, like let's say we only had 12 seats, then we could hire somebody with their regular license. They wouldn't have to have a CDL. And I think that would help open up opportunities for recruitment as well. The one thing that we'll be looking at, though, is to make sure that it makes fiscal sense that we can afford to do this. I mean, how many vehicles would we need? How many drivers would we need at one point? We don't know that yet. We'll probably start off with a study at some point, pick a community and set it up and see how it runs. But we're going to get some guidance from that. Hopefully we'll get a consultant to help us with it. We already have dispatching software that we have through Tillamook County Transportation District. They contracted with EcoLane. And so we got some of those licenses. We were able to piggyback with them. And EcoLane does, one of their businesses is Microtransit. So again, I'm in Richmond, Virginia in a couple of weeks, and at the trade show, I'll be starting that discussion with EcoLane because I want to see the product that they have available to us. So Tracy put something out, and this lends to increasing countywide transport, and that's very possible. You know, all of a sudden we could take away that 3/4 of a mile from a fixed route, and we could expand out service. So I think you'll see it incrementally expand, but I think it could be a win-win, and I'm hopeful for that. So I've put that marketing rebranding effort kind of on pause right now. I haven't put out the RFP because if we do change our model, I don't want to go out and market our service now. I'd rather wait to use that money when we go to that new service and use that to educate everybody about it. So, Arla, I see your picture, so I figured you have a comment or question.
Just a slight clarification.
Okay.
So the grant application is not due until close of business on November 4th. So you've got an extra day than what you thought, Paul.
Oh, thank you.
This is, you know, typically when we apply for grants, ODOT has set up these things called incognito forms. Incognito is a company, and they're very simple, and the applications are very simple. This one's like a 7-page supplemental form that, oh man, you have to tell a story. You have to explain how Justice 40 is involved with this. Does everybody know what Justice 40 is? Does anybody know what Justice 40 is? Because we didn't know what Justice 40 was. You know, so, you know, it's again from the Biden administration. Really, they're wanting to prioritize, you know, like 40% of the benefit goes to some of these disadvantaged populations, which are a variety of different categories. So we're still working on that part because that's brand new to us. So we're having to figure out how to tell that story. So Paul's been working on that very diligently over the past few days and stressing out, but he's doing a good job. He's got a draft to me now, which I'll be looking at this afternoon, and we can get this thing wrapped up by early next week and get it in. It is a discretionary grant, and it's a nationwide competition for this money. The last time they had one, about 1/3 of the projects got funded. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. We have to apply to ODOT, and then ODOT packages up all the rural agencies and submits them to FTA. We have gotten so far, I reached out to the cities in the county to drum up support from them. And I've got a letter of support from the city of Astoria, from the city of Warrenton, and I know I'll be getting one this week from the city of Cannon Beach. Haven't heard from Gearhart or Seaside yet, but hopeful they'll support it, and hope the county also does. So anyway, we're drumming up support. I'm going to call one of Suzanne Bonamici's aides and see if I can't get the representative to also put in a letter of support for us. So the more the merrier. And they look at that when they're evaluating. It's one of the questions, you know, what congressional district are you in? Because they like to make sure that it's broadly spread out amongst as many districts as possible, so as many Congress people can get kudos for getting money and bringing money to their district. So So we're excited about that opportunity. Jennifer, when she speaks on her report, she's going to bring up information about the vaccinations, the booster vaccination clinics that are being set up now, and she can share what we're going to be doing. The other grant that will be announced here sometime soon, hopefully, is the American Rescue Plan grant for us. And that's one I think I've mentioned before. I'm going to be looking at writing a grant to help us bump up our wages for drivers for a period of time, and probably for all employees for a period of time, because they've all been working through this thing. And then, look at recruitment bonuses as well, sign-on bonuses. So we haven't been notified of that yet, so I have to wait till I see what the parameters are and make sure we can do that. But that's kind of my idea at this point. So with that, you saw that in my report, we were down 16% last month. Unfortunately, that's because of the 27% cut in service that we did. We're still showing a positive number for the year, but I think the next meeting, you'll see that be a negative number as well. I think that's it for now. Any questions for me?
Pretty complete.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. Move on to Paul.
Good morning, distinguished board.
And Tracy.
I just want to start off with one item that Jeff reminded me I probably should have included in my report, and I didn't. And that's that for the last year and a half, we've been reporting sporadically on a joint procurement venture that we were involved in with NWADA to procure some decontamination equipment for our buses. And it's a long story. It took us a year and a half to get here, but we did get that equipment or an iteration thereof last month. And so we have moved from a stopgap piece of equipment supplemented by a hand pump bug sprayer and some Clorox to a more sophisticated, more reliable way to disinfect our buses at the end of each shift. So we have a large piece of equipment that can disinfect 2 buses at one time. And we have several over-the-shoulder battery-operated packs that a maintenance person can get on the bus, or a driver can get on the bus and disinfect the inside of that bus in a matter of 35 or 40 seconds. So that's a big improvement. It was a long time coming, and it's working very well. With that, are there any questions about the germ fogger equipment or anything on my report today? It's a little less positive a report, but we are facing some challenges with our fleet maintenance and repairs, and we get good months and bad months, and this has been a little bit of a tough one for us to keep the fleet in top shape, but we're always moving upward and onward.
I see that Commissioner Reed has a question.
Okay, I just wanted to, say thank you very much, Paul, for all your hard work and your crew. It was impressive that you were able to do repairs on some of the buses yourself and save us some money. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have an excellent team out here.
And Commissioner Weathers.
Paul.
Yes, sir.
Defogging sounds ominous. I'm assuming this is done at night. And my next question would be, will they have buses have a chance to air out before the drivers get on them in the morning?
Well, and that's a great concern, something that for the course of the pandemic, everyone has been concerned about and working toward mitigating. I hope I don't misspeak here, but I think the agent that we're using for our decontamination is Simple Green. Is that correct, Jeff?
It's a hospital grade, Simple Green. It's not the kind of Simple Green that I can't stand the smell of that you buy in the stores. Hospital grade that hospitals use. And
yeah, it's
very safe.
Yeah, it's safe. It doesn't smell bad. It doesn't have any human toxicity as such. By the fact that we do this contamination at the end of the shift, it's going to sit overnight before it's used. But it's perfectly acceptable for us to put the bus back in service within 5 or 10 minutes and not have any problem. And of course, the term fogging only refers to the very small particles that the atomization process produces. And yet it sounds a little ominous, but it's very effective.
Commissioner McDonald?
I just wanted to say I missed the bus that had the accident. So as soon as we can get it back, that would be great. A lot of positive comments about both those buses from the public that I talked to. So I would, and I commend you guys for trying to keep them repaired and on the road. So
thank you. We're really very, very pleased to have those 2 new buses. Unfortunate that we had the accident, but I can report that the bus is in the body shop, that the parts that are coming from Florida have been painted and shipped and left Texas this morning. They're expected out in Sandy or not Sandy, but out in that area by
Boring.
Friday.
By Boring.
Ultimately, they'll be down in Boring.
Yeah.
Now, let me correct myself there. First going to Portland, where the bus is, to be put on the bus, and then the bus will be moved down to down south of Portland to have the wrap put back on. So everything is in process. It all takes a long time, but we'll be so happy to get that back here and back in service.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention, when I talked about that 5339 grant, I forgot to include that we're going to be requesting 1 more of those remanufactured Gillids as well. So we'll have a 3rd one.
Yeah.
Good.
Hopefully.
All right. Okay, if there's nothing else of Paul, we'll move on to Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello, board. Thank you for your time today. So I have a very short and sweet board report. The only things I wanted to add to it, let me shut my window. Sorry about that, as log trucks go by. Just wanted to add, well, first and foremost, Jason and Jeff and I will be leaving shortly here in the next couple of weeks to a conference, the CTAA conference. And that's where my Emerging Leaders Academy that I'm a part of now is gonna, the big major kickoff is there. And so I just want to thank the board, and I want to thank Jeff publicly. Thank you for this opportunity personally, and for the district, the things that I'm going to get to learn and add to my my tool belt, and so I just greatly appreciate this opportunity, and I just wanted to let you guys know that publicly, that this is an invaluable opportunity for me. So I thank you, and with that, I will get to do a project. This academy is normally a 1-year ELA class that these groups are involved in, but we get to, this year's group gets to do it into a 9-month quick and painless learning opportunity. So it will be a joy to learn from CTAA and other people that are also in the group, and then of course the expo, and then through this I get to go to, is it DC, Jeff? in the spring. So, and that's
Yeah, she'll be spending time on Capitol Hill meeting with Congress people.
Yeah. So
Great opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much. And as Jeff had mentioned earlier, yes, in the spring we got to do shuttles for our clinics that the county has put on at the fairgrounds and Seaside. And so again, the booster is now available by appointment. So we are going to make clinic shuttle routes available countywide where those clinics are. So Camp Railia is every Tuesday for the month of November. The fairgrounds in Astoria, they have 3 designated days on a Wednesday in November. And then there's going to be a Latino outreach fair on a Saturday in November. And so we will be accommodating for those clinics.
All right.
So that's all the things I had to add to my report. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions, but a comment. Take Jennifer, take a lot of materials that have pockets, wear things with pockets, because in any CTA group meeting and things like that, there are handouts, things that they want you to put in your pockets. So be sure and wear things with pockets.
Thank you, Tracy. I thank you for that tidbit of advice. Will do, yes.
All right. I appreciate the being able to help people get to the clinics for the boosters, vaccinations, whatever it is they need. I think that's great that we're able to help with that. So.
Yeah. And I also wanted to add, we never stopped doing the curb to curb. So we're still doing curb to curb for those that can't reach to the shuttle. It is going to be, again, free service. So countywide, curb to curb, and then the shuttles. So yes.
All right. It's really good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to Jason.
Well, good morning again, everybody. Thank you again for the Title VI discussion. That was amazing, and I look forward to working on that further. It really just, my report, right now I just want to highlight, just thanking everybody who helped me with the Yes You Can project, and it was amazing to do that. It just shows when everybody comes together, we can get not only just staff members, but we can get community members together too, to perhaps be excited or engaged in public transportation. So again, without the help of all my coworkers and all that kind of stuff and the support from the board and everything, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So thank you very much.
And
other than that,
Jason, if I could
interrupt
here, I want to toss out publicly thanks to Arla, because Arla, not only was she in the video, but she also shared it across the state with the other RTCs, other transit agencies, and staff at ODOT. And the response was just tremendous from the president administrator all the way down. And then I also shared it during the pre-conference trainings that we had a week and a half ago. I was able to share it in the chat box in one of the sessions. And so it went viral nationally. It's the first video that Jason has produced that has gotten so many views that commercials are on it now. So that's pretty cool. Not that we're going
just
to get any
something to be able to skip past.
But
But piggyback on what you said, Jeff, definitely thank you to Arla. Support that we get from her and her office is amazing. And so that's great. I'd also like to shout out to Kathy for her. She really knows how to boost the social media stuff. So she did a great job of ensuring that stuff was just plastered all over. And so I appreciate that work as well too. So anyhow, any questions?
Commissioner Allegra?
I just wanted to commend you on the landmark observance training. I think that is a great idea of training people to use public transit. very original,
Thank
Mhm.
and I
you.
think would
Thank
be
you.
very productive.
I hope so.
That's all.
Commissioner Reed?
Jason, I was happy to send you a volunteer in the last couple of months there where you met with my husband, Mark Hansen, who's a Vietnam vet and who was a part of the Veterans Memorial work down in Seaside. And he, he's kind of a guy that's kind of a foot dragger when it comes to some things, for signing up for stuff. But I just pushed him out the door and said, don't come back until you've talked to Jason. And but you guys had a good conversation, and he is interested in the program for vets driving vets around, and
Excellent.
looking forward to seeing that develop. I'm interested in that, personally and as a program. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. We're really thankful for anyone who happens to be a veteran and who happens to want to use their own vehicle to transport our local veterans. It's a great opportunity. And I just want to add that when that does happen, we have to remember that there is a great conversation that happens between veterans just within that short little ride. That's the reason why I kind of say it takes one to help one. And currently right now, our volunteer driver, John Carter, there are so many opportunities that he's told me about that I've even spoken to the veterans themselves and learned about the discussions they have. They feel like in some ways that it's almost like a little miniature mental health trip that they get to go on. So they're really happy about that.
Cool.
Commissioner McDonald, your hand is still up.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, I was just I'm closing out. I have to leave early to do a transport and be a speaker at another meeting. So, and I'm not trying to slight other staff and their reports. So, and I will be seeing you all in December.
December 9th.
Yes. And I will
Yes.
wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and also Marine Corps birthday is November 10th. So please remember, have a piece of cake for us.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, if there's nothing else for Jason, we can move on to Kathy.
Good morning, all. Hope
Good
everybody's
morning.
doing great. First off, I want to thank everybody for participating in the Get There Challenge. This year, 1,405 people participated in the challenge statewide. 7,080 achievements were unlocked and 18,200 trips were logged, which equated to 148,000 miles in alternative vehicles or by foot that were logged, not in single occupancy vehicles. So good job, everybody, for being part of that. And more specifically, I just want to share a screen real quick so I can show you guys what we did here locally at Sunset Empire. And so there it goes, sharing it now. So this is this year's, or last year's numbers rather. We had 51
Kathy,
alternative trips. You're not seeing it?
There you go. There it is.
It just takes a second. Are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Now I froze myself. Excellent. Can you see it or am I gone?
Oh, we can see it. You're good.
Okay. All right. So 51 alternative trips, 997 alternative miles traveled. This was last year. And so this year, let's see, come on, screen. Gotta love the computer technology. When it works, and when it doesn't. Anyway, so much for that great idea. I'm gonna stop the share if it'll let me. Come on. Anyway, this year we had more trips logged. It won't let me stop sharing. Anyway, so Eventually the computer will catch up to me. I'll just keep talking. Thank you all for participating. It was a great challenge. Next year, look for some new parts and pieces to the challenge with some more local prizes. I don't know if you can still hear me or not, or if I'm gone. Anyway.
We can hear
Questions? Okay, good. Thank you. I don't know if what you're seeing. My screens are all frozen. So technology, gotta love it when it works and not so much when it doesn't. So there's that. I also want.
Now you're done.
Now you're frozen.
Why don't you go ahead and move on? I'll text her and let her know we lost her.
Okay, we'll move on to Mary and we can come back with Kathy if she comes back. So Mary. Is Mary still on? All right, I see Sue, so we can go to Sue.
Good morning. I don't know why I'm down, but can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, there. Okay. So good morning. Hello, everyone. Happy blustery day. Do you have any questions on my report? There's a lot more going on actually than is on that report, but those are the things that I highlighted.
Anybody have any questions of Sue?
I did have a question, not so much about your report, Sue, but about Norm Myers. How long was he with us?
13 years.
Nice. I'm so glad. It seems that the retirement party was enjoyable for the staff, so I'm glad that we got to recognize that.
Yeah. Needed to leave him, but it was, you know, he figured it was time, so.
That's good. All right. Commissioner Allegra.
What does the transportation support specialist, what will she be doing? What
The
does that?
transportation support specialists, their jobs are a little bit more expanded than a regular customer service representative. They do EcoLane and a few other programs that customer service representative does not do. And so basically it's Stephanie in the Astoria Transit Center and Marcy, who we just hired, and then also Danielle McGregor Clark, who I think I highlighted last board report. So those are our 3 transportation support specialists. They are all all intertwined where they are all able to fill in wherever they're needed. If the ones from operations need to go to Astoria, if Stephanie's on vacation, or if Eric's on vacation, they can fill in everywhere.
Would it be a thought that they could review the journal entries?
You mean the accounting journal entries? No. No, they are just specifically more dispatch and, you know, with the radio, with the bus drivers, with paratransit, with putting in rides for on EcoLane for the paratransit drivers, scheduling that type of thing. They do a data entry from the driver's logs. And then they help our clients on the phone if they call and have questions. They're first line for our clients.
So how does that differ from what, or is it the same as what Stephanie does?
Yes, they're all the same.
Okay.
Except for Stephanie is located at the Astoria Transit Center and the other 2 are located in operations.
But the nice thing is they're cross-trained in two different jobs, one here at the transit center and then also over in Warrenton operating as dispatchers for Ride Assist.
Oh, that sounds
Makes
good.
it very flexible.
Thank you.
Hey, any other questions for Sue?
And Kathy is back online.
Let's go back to Kathy.
Maybe.
Okay. I'm not going to try and share my screen because apparently my machine does not want to do extra work today. So lots of stuff going on. Thank you very much to everybody that participated in the challenge. I won't go through the details again. If you need help and you want to continue to use the Get There website and you weren't able to do it during the challenge, let me know. Pamela, you mentioned that it's not user-friendly. I know that there's certain things in there that I have brought, that I keep bringing up to the people that administer things to try and make things work a little bit easier and be more user-friendly. We'll see what happens. It's kind of geared more towards people that are doing the same commute every day rather than all of the other stuff. And so we'll see what happens over the long run, whether they come up with a whole different platform for people that use it more like we do out here, or, what they are able to improve in there. But anyway, thank you for participating. Hopefully we can get some more things going. I've got an employer that I'm working with, fingers crossed, that we'll be working out a specific employer challenge with them here coming up in January. We'll keep you posted, and I'll kind of treat it like a pilot if that works out. Let's see, there was something else. Block off some dates in your calendar, because Jeff kind of brought it up, and I'm switching hats. So I'm switching my hat to the SDAO board member hat, and block off dates in your calendar for the Eugene conference that's coming up in February 10th through 13th. Mary will, I'm sure, have more information coming out about that, but don't book those dates. Make sure that you're available, because there's so much important information that you can get from the SDAO conference. And since we haven't been able to have a live in-person conference in a while, this will be a really good one to make sure that you're there for. So any questions for me on what I've been up to? Commissioner Allegria.
I just wanted the ending date. I'm sorry, February 10th through what?
13th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. Sorry about the technical challenges. I have no idea what you saw and what you didn't see. I'll have to review the video later. So that's the other thing. Make sure you're going online and liking these videos on Sunset Empire Transportation District's Facebook page and YouTube channel. Super important that we get everybody clicking those likes and subscribes, because that's what does what Jeff was talking about with Jason's video. We want to make sure that we keep raising those videos up. So make sure you're hitting that like button on YouTube. It's a thumbs up. So just click that thumbs up button, and then on Facebook, you know how to do it. So get in there. And then tomorrow, one more thing, sorry. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to be having some ODOT representation for a facilities plan that is being put into place in Gearhart. And so we're starting the outreach through our show tomorrow. So if you're able to watch, please watch and ask questions, and or share the links that we'll be sharing from tomorrow's show out. So super important. Join us tomorrow, 11 o'clock to 11:30. It's not a whole lot of time out of your day, and there'll be lots of really great information being passed on then. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Kathy.
I think there's a question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Kathy, are they thinking about a roundabout in Gearhart?
I guess we'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out.
All right. Okay, the last one is Mary, and I'm not sure if we can get any from her. Nothing. We'll catch up with Mary next on. There we go. One more time, December 9th. We can catch up with Mary then. We'll catch up with Mary in December. Is anything else?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think Mary should chat her entire report.
She could do that. She could do that. If there is nothing else, just one last reminder, December 9th is our next meeting. Everybody be safe. If you're traveling for Thanksgiving, be careful out there.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, that's right. Halloween first.
Not gonna be rainy.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and happy
Thanksgiving.
Halloween to everyone. Be safe.